With so much happening behind the scenes at Marvel Studios, all sorts of ups and downs in relation to the last handful of years worth of projects, and the recent firing of Victoria Alonso, I saw multiple interesting pieces online that are trying to put together what exactly is going on and whether or not there is a bigger Marvel Studios problem at hand in front of us. So let me look at this realistically and say, yes, there is. So in the last couple of years, we've seen all sorts of projects perform, overperform, and underperform. Whatever you're looking at, you're going to see an interesting picture that's painted. Black Widow performed better than most people expected, especially on Disney+. Shang-Chi, when it came to the box office, did enough to pull a profit, as it was a cheaper film. At the same time, Eternals did not. Spider-Man was a project decades in the making that delivered on all fronts and overperformed by every estimate. But then other film projects either underperformed or went as good as expected. On the TV side of things, it's been a completely different story. Some projects being received as complete disasters, others being hailed as one of the best things Marvel has ever done. So there's really been a little in between, a project that's sort of liked and disliked by equal amounts of people. Most, at least in the last phase, have tended to lean heavily towards it's the worst thing ever or it's one of the best things they've done. So there's very little middle ground. From what we know that ties to Victoria Alonso, she was very much at the forefront of get it out the door, I'm in charge of the visual effects, I want it done, don't worry about what's going on here, and if you say no or can't do it, I'm going to blacklist you, get somebody to do it cheaper, and it's still going to get pushed out the door. And I think that can be attributed to the bigger Marvel Studios problem at hand, which a lot of people seem to not want to admit is there. Again, I don't care about Marvel or DC as companies. You guys know this. I care about the entertainment that they can provide me because I have no financial stake in them. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend like Marvel Studios is perfect because they are a far cry from it, just like Disney and Star Wars. But the bigger Marvel Studios problem at hand that everybody seems to ignore is the fact that they took on more than they can chew. You guys get what I'm saying? We went from 2 to 3 films a year and 5 to 6 TV series a year produced by a completely different division to Marvel Studios now controls everything. They took on too much, and going to the same well for the same people for the same visual effects doesn't work because they are then stretched too thin. Instead of having Weta work on 1 to 2 projects a year, they're now working on 5 to 7, and it's the same people. I think the problem has been, in large part, due to them literally taking on too much. But again, people don't like it when I mention it, but you got to bring in politics into this and structure of the world. It's all due to capitalism. It doesn't matter how good you do this year. Next year, they want you to do better. Doing just as good is never good enough. So they are pushing out constant flow of these films that honestly could take a little bit more effort and more break, right? And I do think that the problems are starting to show in some of the projects that were obviously left over and were running up against some deadlines and having to be really pushed out the door. But I think if we look at the horizon, they're delaying things because they're starting to take more time. So we'll see how this pans out, but I hope that they can get it figured out before DC shows them how to do it right. Ironically.